History loves to talk about wars and presidents, but the real turning points always happen in the shadows, where governments act without witnesses. Today, we're counting down 10 secret operations that governments hid for decades. Not conspiracy theories, not rumors, only facts that eventually resurfaced, despite every attempt to bury them. And if you think you know what intelligence agencies are capable of, this list will prove you wrong. Number 10. Operation Susanna, the Lavon Affair. In 1954, Israel was desperately trying to weaken Egypt, which was led by Gamal Abdel Nasser. The plan was simple: carry out a series of small bombings in public places, blame Egyptian nationalists, trigger chaos, and undermine trust in the government. For this, Israeli military intelligence recruited a group of Egyptian Jews, but the operation collapsed before it truly began. One of the agents, Abraham El-Haddad, revealed the plot to Egyptian authorities. Most operatives were arrested, the explosions caused minimal damage, and Israel ended up in an international scandal. It became one of the first major examples of a covert state operation destroyed by betrayal from within. Number 9. Eli Cohen, the man who infiltrated the heart of Syria. Early 1960s, Mossad prepares its new field operative, Eli Cohen. His mission: become a respected Syrian businessman, gain access to top military leadership, and relay intelligence back to Israel. Under the identity Kamel Amin Thabet, Cohen integrated so deeply into Syria's elite that generals discussed military plans right in his home. He transmitted data on fortifications, defense positions, and strategic sites, information that later played a role in the Six-Day War. But in 1965, Syrian counterintelligence detected his radio transmissions. Cohen was captured and publicly hanged in Damascus. In Israel, he is still remembered as one of the greatest spies in the nation's history. Number 8. Donnie Brasco, the agent who destroyed the mafia from the inside. Late 1970s. The FBI decides to attempt what was long considered impossible: embed an officer into the heart of a mafia family. Joseph Pistone receives a new identity, jeweler Donnie Brasco, and disappears from his real life for 6 full years. He earns the trust of New York's crime crews, especially the Bonanno family. He eats at their tables, runs their schemes, and becomes one of them, to the point where they are ready to make him a soldier, a full member of the mafia. And the entire time he is quietly dismantling their empire from within. When the operation ended, the FBI launched a wave of arrests. Over 100 mobsters were convicted. The Bonanno family collapsed. New York's mafia lost influence it had built for 50 years. Pistone survived. He didn't break. And he proved that you can kill the mafia not with bullets, but with trust. Today he lives under federal protection and still carries death sentences ordered by the remnants of the families he helped destroy. Operation Chaos, when the United States began spying on its own people. The 1960s. The country is on fire. Vietnam War protests, the civil rights movement, feminist organizations, counterculture. President Lyndon Johnson becomes convinced that foreign intelligence agencies must be directing these movements. He orders the CIA to begin a covert surveillance program, Operation CHAOS. The agency compiles files on 300,000 American citizens. They monitor activists, students, musicians, journalists. Under surveillance are Women Strike for Peace, the Black Panther Party, anti-government groups. The darkest part? Years later, CIA Director Richard Helms admits no foreign interference was ever found. They spied on their own population simply because they feared them. Operation Chaos continued for years, turning into a tool for suppressing dissent, and was later declared illegal. It became a symbol of how far a government will go when it starts fearing its own citizens. Number 6. Operation Gladio, NATO's secret army no one was ever meant to know about. This is one of the darkest and most controversial projects of the Cold War. On January 1st, 1952, NATO launched a covert program called Gladio, a network of underground combat units across Europe, meant to operate behind enemy lines if the USSR ever invaded. But in practice, everything was far darker. Gladio existed in every major European country: Italy, France, Belgium, Germany. These were hidden cells, armed, trained, and operating independently from their own governments. And their mission went far beyond defense. They were meant to fight communists inside their own nations. The project was accused of supporting far-right groups, conducting psychological warfare, and even being linked to high-profile murders, including the killing of socialist leader Aldo Moro in Italy. The United States denied everything, but in 1990 the European Parliament formally demanded investigations and acknowledged one thing clearly: a network of secret armies really existed. It was the moment Europe learned that for decades a silent mechanism of NATO influence had been operating beneath their feet, completely hidden from the public. Number 5. The Canadian Caper: the rescue mission that looked like a Hollywood scam. November 4th, 1979. Islamists storm the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. 52 diplomats are taken hostage, but 6 staff members manage to escape and vanish in a city where every foreigner is a target. The CIA understands. Finding them is nearly impossible. Extracting them is even harder. Then Agent Tony Mendez proposes a plan that sounds insane. Create a fake movie studio, disguise the diplomats as a Canadian film crew scouting locations, and walk them through Iran's airport as filmmakers. The cover was built perfectly. An office in Hollywood, a real budget, ads promoting a fictional movie, Argo, producers, a script. The diplomats received new identities, biographies, and professions. On January 27, 1980, they passed airport control without suspicion and left the country. The operation remained classified for nearly 30 years, and later became the basis for the Oscar-winning film Argo, Fire Number 4, COINTELPRO. When the FBI waged war against its own citizens, COINTELPRO is one of the darkest chapters in U.S. history. From the mid-1950s to the early 1970s, that the FBI conducted a massive covert operation against American citizens. The goal? Not fighting terrorists, not hunting foreign agents, but crushing any movement that could disturb the order inside the country. The FBI secretly monitored the American Indian movement, anti-war activists, the civil rights movement, and especially the Black Panther Party. But surveillance was only the beginning. COINTELPRO forged documents, planted undercover agents, destroyed the families of movement leaders, fabricated criminal cases, smeared activists through the media, orchestrated violent provocations. The darkest moment was the murder of Fred Hampton, the deputy chairman of the Black Panther Party. Agents gave police the exact layout of his apartment. That night, officers stormed in and shot Hampton at point-blank range while he slept. Official goal: prevent radicalization. Real goal: eliminate opposition. The operation was shut down only after the 1971 scandal, when activists stole secret FBI files and leaked them to the press. Number 3, MKULTRA, the most horrifying CIA experiment on humans. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is an officially confirmed CIA project. In 1953, the CIA launched MKULTRA, a program designed to develop methods of mind control. The aim was simple and terrifying: to see whether a person's thinking could be completely altered, their will broken, their memory erased, or their obedience forced. The methods were monstrous. The CIA used fire covert LSD dosing, fire sensory deprivation, hypnosis, sexual assault, psychological torture, prolonged solitary confinement experiments in hospitals, prisons, and universities. Thousands of people were experimented on without their knowledge. Some were dosed with LSD hundreds of times. Others spent weeks in total darkness. And some were forced to listen to the same phrase 500,000 times in attempts to rewrite their personality. The project lasted 20 years. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms destroyed almost all documents, but the remaining files proved one thing: MKUltra was real. Later, the U.S. Senate officially declared the program criminal. Fire number 2, Operation Wrath of God, when a state launched a global manhunt. After the massacre of 11 Israeli athletes at the 1972 Olympics, Israel made a decision that shocked the entire world. Prime Minister Golda Meir personally authorized Operation Wrath of God, a worldwide hunt for everyone connected to the organization Black September. Mossad formed mobile assassination teams. They operated across dozens of countries, used forged passports, long-term cover identities, and eliminated targets even if they were hiding under new names. Within the first 3 weeks, the first execution was approved. Over the next 20 years, key figures of Palestinian networks were hunted down. But the operation came with fatal mistakes. In Lillehammer, Norway, Mossad operatives killed the wrong man, an innocent Moroccan waiter named Ahmed Bouchiki. The incident triggered an international scandal and became one of the most humiliating failures in Mossad's history. The mastermind of the Munich attack, Abu Daoud, was never eliminated. Operation Wrath of God became a symbol of how vengeance can turn into an endless war. Fire number 1, Operation Valkyrie, the most famous failed assassination attempt on Hitler. 1944. Germany is collapsing. Wehrmacht officers understand. If Hitler isn't stopped, the country will die with him. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg designs Operation Valkyrie, a military coup combined with the assassination of the Führer using a bomb. On July 20th, he enters a briefing room, places a briefcase of explosives beside Hitler, and walks out. Minutes later, the bomb detonates. But a single tragic coincidence saves the dictator. An officer had unknowingly moved the briefcase behind a thick table leg, redirecting the blast. Hitler suffers only a concussion. The coup collapses. Mass arrests begin. Around 5,000 people are executed or tortured. Stauffenberg is shot that same night. Operation Valkyrie remains the most iconic, most courageous, and most tragically failed attempt to alter the course of World War II. All these operations remind us of one truth: secrecy always has a price. Governments create hidden programs that try to control ideology, minds, wars, and people. But the deeper they move into the shadows, the more destructive the consequences become. Sometimes a failed covert mission changes the course of a war. Sometimes it destroys thousands of lives. Sometimes it shatters the trust placed in entire nations. And above all, history proves that every secret eventually surfaces, sooner or later.